Hey, I'm walking through a BorrowGenius report, but the problem with most refinance decisions are traditional quotes just focus on the interest rate. They don't talk about the long-term costs, calculate the payoffs correctly, ignore the correct escrow, and they skip a break-even analysis. So what we're going to do here is just look at somebody uploaded a statement on the Refi Smart website. And here are the results. Now this transaction closed a little bit ago, but I just want to show you real scenarios that we put together with people. So in this case, this gentleman saved $209 a month in the payment. The interest was $247 and $53,000 over the life of loan, dropping the rate from 7% down to 6.125 with a total of $946 in costs. So a couple things to note on this. Before I did anything else, I ran a long, medium, and short cost versus rate scenario. And in looking at this, if we were going to chase the lowest interest rate here at 5.875 versus take 6.125, the difference between the long and the short here is $4,200. $42 a month. It's going to take 100 months essentially before this lower interest rate is actually a better deal than this one. Well, this gentleman will probably refinance, restructure, do a rate reduction, do something in the next 8 years to where it's just not worth chasing the lower interest rate. So he selected 6.125. In doing so, we are just comparing what he got versus what he had. And this loan was set to pay off in just under 29 years. He wanted to spend the loan back to 30, so he would save a little bit more money every month so he could add that $2,400 to his retirement. So that's why he chose a refinance over a rate reduction. Secondly, when we looked at the cost of it, it was about $950. I'll explain that in a minute. And he's got $100 cash back at closing. I just wanted to make sure that when the dust settled, he was getting money back, not bringing money in. So when we look at this, first thing to consider, as we talk about every single time, the mortgage statement balance is not your current balance today. That is a balance on a snapshot in time when they calculated it based upon the amortization chart and the amount of daily interest that's accumulated. Therefore, what we had done is we said, all right, if your mortgage statement balance is $410, depending upon when you make your last payment and when we're going to fund this loan, we expect the payoff to be $414. So think of it this way. Today, your loan balance is higher than it was yesterday because another day of interest was added. And tomorrow, it's going to be higher than today because another day of interest was added. So that's where we're getting this $414 for our payoff. Now, when we go down further, we look at that 6.125, we had a credit that would cover the majority of the costs. Now, he didn't have an appraisal, but there's still going to be, the file's going to be re-underwritten, there's going to be credit, there's going to be processing title work, and it's going to be re-recorded with the county. So all in, it ended up totaling after a rebate about $950. That is the cost of a refinance or a rate reduction. That's it. So the rest of it is we're reestablishing his escrows based upon when we were closing and based upon what was due. He would have 10 months of taxes that would be collected. In addition to that, he had 5 months of his insurance based upon when his insurance renewed. Then we were closing in the middle of the month. You skip a mortgage payment because you've already brought in the interest. That's what this is right here, showing us that we've got the interest paid for through the end of the month. By the way, just to show you what I mean by that, in case you missed it, I know it's on another video, but if this is our timeline right here, right? And let's say this is January, February, March, April, May, right? So when you rent a property on the first of the month, you pay because you are going to live there. But when you have a mortgage, you pay because you just lived there. So if we were doing the math on this, if this was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, so this is the month of May. If we were to close on your refinance sometime in the middle of February, we bring in the interest to get us through the rest of the month right here. That's why there is no mortgage payment being made. It isn't that you get any free days, But in April, you're going to pay because you live there in March. In March, you pay because you live there in February. Well, we're changing this loan over, so we're just bringing this in up front. That's why there's no payment in March. Your next payment would be in April. So when we're looking at that, like we see here, that's what this interim interest is based upon the date that it would close. So in this scenario, how it actually worked out for this guy is we're giving him $100 back at closing, and then he's going to get a refund of his current escrow balance, which was $22.67 on the statement. In addition to that, he decided he didn't want to make a payment in January. He also didn't want to make a payment in February. So that's part of the reason this payoff is as high as it is, because we're calculating that he is not making a payment in January. He's also not making one in February. So even though it's basically a zero cash in, cash out scenario, it's going to feel like about an $8,800 windfall for him when he doesn't make 2 mortgage payments and then he gets a refund of his escrow. So in this scenario, he would close at the beginning of January. He didn't make a payment in January or February. His next payment would be in March, and it would be for $3,005, which is $209 less, as we reflected up here, than he's currently paying. So that shows us the lifetime interest of the mortgage. He's saving about $44,700, plus what he didn't make in the 2 mortgage payments, because that's part of this loan amount here, and the refund of his escrow balance, because we established a new escrow balance here and he didn't want to bring that money in at closing, puts us in a position where he actually is saving about $53,000 over the life of the loan. Now, in addition to that, which I like, is I want to look at the total amount of interest saved and the total cost. So if he's saving $247 every single month in interest, because the rest of it's going towards principal, and it cost him $946, that means he'll recoup this cost, $946 divided by $247, in just under 4 months. So in his scenario, as long as the market didn't go crazy in the next 3 to 4 months, he had recouped the cost to incur by changing his interest rate from 7 down to 6.125. That's how the BorrowGenius works. That's why when you want to see all of the numbers, you want to look at a scenario something like this. In order to do that, all a client needs to do is drag and drop a mortgage statement right into here, and then the rest of it can be handled for you. So just wanted to give you an idea of what it looks like to go through BorrowGenius. Here is another successful client who closed, who saved in interest $247.82 every single month. Over the lifetime, the total savings, $53,464.